I made chicken. My mother-in-law's voice rang out across the yard. Laughter spilled from the porch, glasses clinked. My name wasn't mentioned once. Not even when she said, "And everyone's here." They hadn't invited me for over a year. Then last night I got a message from my brother-in-law. "Dinner at 7. Don't be late. Everyone wants to see you." No explanation. No apology. "Hi everyone. My name is Landon Rains. A year ago, after my wife died in a car crash, her family went silent. No condolences. No calls. Nothing. I raised our daughter alone. I buried my grief in her lullabies. And now, suddenly, they wanted me over for dinner." I drove slowly up the gravel road. The old house sat at the top of the hill, lights glowing like a trap. As I parked, a woman from across the street sprinted toward me. She was shaking. "Don't go in," she whispered. "Please. Just go back. Now." My blood went cold. "Why?" I asked. She glanced nervously at the house. "Just leave. They're not who you think they are." Then she ran. I shut off the engine and stepped out quietly. The porch was full of people. Uncles, cousins, old friends of my wife. I didn't approach. I stayed behind the hedge near the side of the house and waited. 5 minutes later, I saw her brother walk out onto the porch holding something. A small glass vial. He passed it to my mother-in-law. She looked at it, smiled, and whispered, "Make sure it's in his drink." The breath left my lungs. My heart slowed. I didn't move. I watched her walk back inside, still smiling. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Another message from the same number. "Where are you? Coming already. The food's getting cold." I stared at that screen like it was a loaded gun. And then I made a decision, one they never expected. I didn't walk up to the house. I walked back to my car. And drove somewhere they'd never imagine I'd go. I didn't go home. I didn't call the police either. Because I knew no one would believe me, not yet. Instead, I drove to the only person my wife ever trusted completely. Her old law professor. Retired. Brilliant. And quietly dangerous when provoked. I pulled up to his isolated cabin near the lake just before midnight. The man opened the door, saw my face, and said, "What did they do?" I told him everything, from the silence after the funeral to the vial I saw exchanged on the porch. He didn't blink once. He just said, "You'll need to act like you're still walking into the trap. But now you'll be the one setting it." We spent the rest of the night planning. By morning I was calm, quiet, ready. I changed into the same clothes I was wearing the night before and drove back to the house, slowly as if I hadn't seen what I'd seen. I rang the doorbell this time. They opened the door too quickly. My mother-in-law's lipstick was too bright. Her hug was too long. My brother-in-law clapped me on the back like we just won something together. The table was set. My glass already poured. Chicken on every plate. And my daughter, Emma, their granddaughter, playing in the other room. I didn't touch the drink. Instead, I lifted it in a toast. "To my wife," I said, eyes locked with theirs. "She always loved her family." A flicker of something passed across my mother-in-law's face. A twitch. Nothing more. But I saw it. They watched me too closely. Like hunters pretending to be dinner guests. Like predators waiting for a body to go still. I made a show of sipping, but the liquid never passed my lips. And I kept smiling. Because what they didn't know was that the law professor had called someone else that morning. Someone watching the house. Someone already collecting proof. I just had to play along until they took one wrong step. And then, finally, it happened. My brother-in-law leaned over and whispered, "You won't wake up tomorrow, Landon." That's when I knew. They just handed me everything I needed. I didn't flinch. Not when he said it. Not when they all stared, waiting for me to react. I leaned back, smiled faintly, and replied, "Then I better enjoy dessert." My voice was steady. But inside my blood burned cold. Landon. That's my name. And at that moment, I wasn't their guest. I was the executioner quietly waiting for the right time to strike. They thought they were playing chess. But I'd already removed their queen. Because while they thought they were clever, the water in my car wasn't water. It was a chemical test kit. And the juice on this table? Already swapped. When I excused myself to the bathroom, I locked the door, pulled out the small vial I'd carried in my jacket, and tested the edge of my wine glass. Positive. Arsenic, slow-acting, subtle, undetectable unless you know what you're looking for. I flushed the strip, stared at myself in the mirror, and whispered, "Let them finish the game." When I returned to the table, they looked impatient. But I brought dessert. My daughter was still in the other room, thank God. And in my other pocket, I had a recording pen. Switched on. I needed one more thing, a confession. Or at least a hint. I picked up my fork, took a bite of the pie, then asked casually, "Do you ever think about her?" My sister-in-law blinked. "Who?" "My wife." The room chilled. "She made her choices," my mother-in-law said coldly. "Did she?" I asked. "She was weak," my brother-in-law added. "Too trusting. That's what got her in trouble." He didn't realize he was talking too much. He didn't realize I was baiting him. "She trusted the wrong people?" I asked softly. "She trusted us," he said, laughing. "That's what killed her." The room went dead silent. And I smiled, slowly. Because I wasn't the only one listening. Outside, in an unmarked van, the law professor's contact, a federal investigator, was recording every word. I stood up. "Excuse me. I need to get my daughter." And as I walked to the next room, my hand brushed the side table, triggering the silent alarm. In exactly 90 seconds, this house would be surrounded. And none of them had any idea. I opened the playroom door and crouched in front of my daughter. She was coloring, innocent, unaware. I smiled and whispered, "Sweetheart, we're going on a little adventure, okay?" She looked up. "Right now?" "Yes, right now." "Just like a spy mission?" She beamed, grabbing her bunny. "Like Mommy used to do?" My throat caught. But I nodded. "Exactly like that." Behind me, muffled voices rose, tension brewing at the dinner table. I tucked my phone into my jacket pocket and activated the second mic, just in case. As we walked past the hallway, I heard my name. "He's too calm," someone muttered. "I told you," my mother-in-law hissed. "He was always too clever for his own good." I didn't look back. I just walked us toward the door. Then, banging. Not outside. Inside. They'd locked the main door. I turned. My brother-in-law was standing there, arms crossed. "Going somewhere?" I tilted my head, calm. "It's past bedtime. You're not leaving." He stepped closer. "You poisoned me," I said softly. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" He froze. "I changed the glasses before dinner. I've already given samples to the authorities. They'll match the prints." My daughter looked up at me, confused. I rested my hand on her shoulder. From the hallway, I heard running, the mother-in-law's heels tapping wildly. "Don't let him go," she screamed. That's when the sirens began. A coordinated crash of law enforcement vehicles hit the gravel driveway. Floodlights beamed through the windows. Shadows scattered inside. A voice echoed through a megaphone. "This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We have a warrant. Open the door immediately." The brother-in-law panicked, sprinting toward the back. The door burst open with a crack. 2 agents tackled him before he made it past the kitchen. The mother-in-law screamed as she was pinned to the floor. I held my daughter close as she trembled, staring at the chaos around us. One of the agents approached me, nodded respectfully, and whispered, "Mr. Landon, it's done. We got everything on record." "You were right." I just looked at him and said, "You're late." He smiled faintly. "Not too late." But I wasn't done. Because in one hidden drawer in that house, there was something I needed to see with my own eyes. I told the agent I needed 10 minutes alone. He hesitated. "Sir, the house is still under investigation." I looked at my daughter, who was clinging to my coat. "Just 10. He nodded, then signaled the team. They backed off, leaving us in the entryway. I walked past the ruined dinner table. Plates shattered. Silverware scattered. My daughter's drawing lay on the floor, bent but untouched. She picked it up quietly. Down the hallway, I found the old cabinet, the one my wife once told me never to open. Back then, I didn't question it. Now I couldn't ignore it. Inside, beneath stacks of junk mail and yellowing papers, was a velvet box. I opened it. A ring. Hers. The one she said she'd lost on vacation, but I always wondered, why lie about a ring? Tucked beneath it was a thumb drive. I plugged it into my phone. Dozens of folders. Surveillance clips. Audio logs. Hidden camera footage, all time-stamped, all from the last 2 years. Every visitor to this house had been recorded. Every conversation documented. And one folder was titled simply, "Him." I tapped it. The first video opened with her voice, my wife's, whispering, "Make sure Landon never finds out." Then came my mother-in-law's voice. "He's too close. We need a distraction." "That waitress? Use her." Another clip. My brother-in-law sneering. "If he gets custody, everything falls apart. That kid is our ticket." My vision blurred. I nearly dropped the phone. All those months I thought I was crazy. All those gaslighting games, they weren't in my head. They were recorded. I looked down at my daughter. She was holding the bunny tighter now, eyes wide. I crouched, took her hand and whispered, "It's over now, okay?" She nodded. "Are they going to jail?" I smiled faintly. "They're not going anywhere ever again." Just then the agent reappeared. "Mr. Landon, you'll want to see this." He led me outside. A second car had arrived, sleek, tinted federal plates. Out stepped a woman in a gray suit, holding a file with my name on it. "Mr. Landon," she said, "you're not just a victim. You're the key witness in an ongoing operation." And then she handed me something that made everything suddenly horribly clear. The agent handed me the folder. Inside, photos, transcripts, and a sealed warrant. There were surveillance images of my wife in a jewelry store, selling pieces from our family heirlooms. Another, her mother meeting a man in a parking lot, exchanging envelopes. And finally, a grainy zoom-in of my daughter's face, taken through the schoolyard fence. My throat tightened. "These," the agent said, "are from a much larger case. You were never the main target. But you're the only one who made noise in the right places." I flipped to the final page, a list of known associates. My wife, her mother, her brother, all flagged as part of a financial fraud and identity laundering network. I nearly dropped it again when I saw the final name on the list. My lawyer. The man who helped me during the custody battle. The one who convinced me to sign off my parental rights, temporarily, to look cooperative. I'd been groomed, used. My daughter was the bait to control me. And when I stopped being useful, they prepared to erase me. "Why now?" I asked. The woman looked at my daughter. "Because your ex-wife made a mistake. She withdrew flagged funds and sent them overseas. It triggered a federal alert. We've been watching ever since." I felt like my lungs collapsed inward. Every argument I ever had with her. Every night I questioned myself. Every apology I whispered to my daughter for being too busy or too late. All part of their setup. "Can I get her back? Full custody?" The agent looked me dead in the eye. "After what we found. She won't even be allowed visitation." My daughter reached for my hand. I squeezed hers gently. "I want to testify," I said. "I want every lie documented. Every dollar traced. Every signature exposed." "We'll protect you," she replied. "But it won't be easy. These people don't go down quietly." I shook my head. "They stole enough of my life. They don't get my silence too." The agent nodded and turned away, making a call. And as I stood there in the dying light of that ruined home, my phone buzzed. It was my ex-wife. A voicemail. Her voice frantic. "Landon, I know what you found. Please, let me explain. I can fix this. I'll do anything just." I deleted it without listening. The courtroom was packed. Not with media, not with reporters, but with quiet people. The kind who'd been hurt, overlooked, discarded. Victims of the same scheme that nearly buried me. They sat shoulder to shoulder, watching as I walked to the stand. I could feel my daughter's hand in mine before I let go. "State your name." "My name is Landon Holt." And with that I started. I described the perfect marriage, the shift, the money that vanished, the coldness that crept into our home. I talked about the lawyer who pressured me, the documents I didn't understand, the court that turned me into a stranger in my daughter's life. I talked about the house. About the neighbor's warning. About the night I didn't die, because of one tow truck and one instinct that said, "Don't go inside." Her lawyer objected. The judge waved it off. The jury leaned in. Then they played the recordings. Her voice. Her mother's laughter. The plan. The jury didn't flinch. Her lawyer begged for leniency, said she was troubled, that she'd lost herself. I didn't say a word. The verdict was unanimous. Fraud. Attempted harm. Conspiracy. Custody was revoked. She was taken from the courtroom in handcuffs, screaming my name like it still meant something. I walked out into the quiet. And outside the courthouse, a woman stood by the steps. Short hair. Calm eyes. The agent who first handed me the file. "You saved more people than you know," she said. "That testimony opened the door for 3 other investigations. You've done more than get your daughter back." I nodded. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted truth. "Then you got it." My daughter ran down the steps toward me. I scooped her up, held her tight. We drove home in silence. The good kind. That night, she brought out a sketch pad and started drawing the house she wanted us to live in. "With a tree swing," she said. "And a big window so I can see you working." I kissed her forehead. And just before I turned out the lights, my phone lit up again. A blocked number. A single message. "You think it's over?" "It's not." I stared at the screen. I had one part left to finish. I stared at the message for a long time. You think it's over? It's not. I didn't show it to my daughter. I didn't want fear to return to her eyes. Instead, I put the phone down and walked outside into the night. The air was still, cold. I looked up at the house. Ours. The one we rebuilt with Court One funds, but more than that, with peace. With drawings and pancakes and Sunday mornings where no one cried. And someone thought they could take that away again? I walked back in, tucked my daughter in tighter, locked the windows. Then I called someone I hadn't spoken to since the beginning of this entire nightmare. You still with internal? I asked. He paused. Why? Because I think there's one more snake under the floorboards. And this time, I'm not letting it slither away. I sent him the message. 10 minutes later, he called back. She was working with someone. We didn't have proof before. Now we might. Stay close. And stay quiet. Always, I said. Over the next week, I noticed things. The same black car 2 blocks down. A flower delivery that no one ordered. My daughter's school suddenly had a new janitor who didn't speak. I documented everything. Passed it all on. And then came the break. They caught him. Her cousin. A city clerk with access to sealed case files. He'd been feeding her information even after the conviction. Trying to help her appeal. Rebuild. Turns out, the agent told me, he bought a ticket to the town where she was being transferred. Didn't think we'd catch him before the visit. I sat with that. And for the first time in months, I allowed myself to feel it. Not anger, not vengeance. Relief. 2 days later, I took my daughter to the swing she'd drawn. The one we built together. She looked at me and said, "Are we okay now, Dad?" I knelt beside her, kissed her cheek and whispered, "We are now." And in that moment, the past didn't matter. Only the swing, the sky, and her laughter that sounded like freedom. I opened the last page of the notebook I'd been keeping. The one with every name, every lie, every wound. And I wrote one word in bold, steady letters.